think a lot of real estate investors just go off and do something. But if you were a plumber, if you were an electrician,
Sure.
if you were HVAC tech, you'd have to get some knowledge before you actually got into business for yourself.
Yeah.
But we think because we've got a credit score and some money that we can just go do the thing.
Welcome to the Threefold Real Estate Investing Podcast. This is the podcast where you'll not only learn how you can achieve massive success in multifamily real estate investing, but also how you can simultaneously pursue great relationships with your family and a better walk with God. You can achieve financial freedom through real estate investing without sacrificing the relationships that mean the most to you. Now, here's your host, Lee Yoder.
Welcome back, Threefold listeners. I hope you're having a great week. We've got another great guest today. Jerome Myers is joining us. A little bit about Jerome. He is a developer of people and places. He is the founder and chief inspirational officer of two ventures. Dreamcatchers is a boutique coaching firm that supports first and second generation wealth creators to self-actualize and attain transcendence. And he's also with the Myers Development Group, where he helps ordinary people invest in multifamily real estate in a way that creates generational wealth, and has built a multi-million-dollar portfolio following the principles of Myers methods. So, Jerome, you go by Jay?
I go by Jerome J. You know, Jay isn't very search engine optimized, so
That's
for
no
the
good
people
then.
who are searching for me, I got to do Jerome Myers. But Jay is great when I'm amongst friends. So Lee, you can feel comfortable with either one, sir.
I appreciate that. All right, Jay. Well, hey, I'm really anxious to get into this. I know, I mean, I've seen a lot of your stuff out there, and really love what you're doing as far as financial literacy. Jay, first, just tell us, like, how'd you get into real estate? I mean, I think I understand that you quit your job and went all in on multifamily before you had done a single deal. Is that true? And if so, explain that to us. Take us all the way back, man. How'd you get started?
Yeah, silly as it sounds, it's true, man. So my last job in corporate America, I built a $20 million division for a Fortune 550 company.
Okay.
I was employee number 2 in that team. And by September, we had
Wow.
about 175 employees. And so, over 9 months, we grew. I don't even know what percentage it is, but if I took my
Wow.
shoes off, I probably still couldn't count that high. And, by December, we were having some real intense conversations. And I still remember on December 24th at 4:55 getting a phone call. And it went something like this: "Hey, Jerome, hope you're ready to wrap things up for the year. I just wanted to check in with you and let you know that I've made a decision." Okay, what's the decision? "So we're going to reduce the workforce by 50%. "No, that doesn't sound right. We're not going to do that."
Wow.
I said, some people have delayed moving forward in various aspects of their life. There's like no way that that's actually going to happen, right? We went around and around, and it's 4:59, and he says, "Jerome, I really didn't call to have a negotiation with you.
Right.
I called to inform you of a decision.
Mm.
And so that's what we're doing." I was like, no, that's not what we're doing. He said, "Jerome, I'm done with this conversation." And then I got the infamous boop, boop, boop. And anybody who has an iPhone knows what that means. But for those Android users, that means that the call was disconnected. And right before he said that, he said, "I'm going to go spend the rest of the year with my family. I'll talk to you next year." I was crushed. I didn't sleep. I didn't eat. I didn't know how I was going to make this be something where it was objective instead of subjective, where the people who were doing the do didn't get negatively impacted because of a decision that was made that wasn't fair. It was also the first time where I was put in a situation, and so I was distraught because the economy was going strong. We were also in a space where we made a 30% profit margin.
Yeah.
So, we figured out how to make
sense.
$6 million, right? So what are we doing? Bring it full circle. We put Humpty Dumpty back together again. And I told myself, trying to get through it, that, hey, I'll never do this again, right? I'm doing it this time, but they're making me do it.
Mhm.
And it was when I said that to myself, I looked back at it and realized that I gave up my agency. Right? I think a lot of people feel like they can just push it off on the things that they can't control as the reason why they don't have a choice. But I truly believe that everybody has a choice in every situation. They don't get to pick the consequences, but they do get to decide what they do in the situation that they're faced with. And it was at that point that I decided that I was going to leave corporate America, because I did have a choice and I didn't have to be a participant in a system that for me was foundationally wrong, because we wouldn't have the profits if we didn't have the people.
Sure.
And so I pivoted, and I thought I was just going to walk into a bank and get $1 million loan and buy an apartment deal. And well, that was wrong. And so I went to the first one and they said, yeah, you don't have any experience. I was like, what do you mean? I just built a $20 million business. I got an MBA. I got an engineering license. What do you want? And he said, well, we want to know that you've executed this business plan on a property of similar size before. And I reached in my pockets and I pulled out some lint, because I didn't have any of that.
Didn't have that.
I didn't have that.
Yeah.
And I thought it was all about credit score and cash in a bank. And I found out that that wasn't true. So those guys were nuts, right? They didn't know what they were talking about. So I went to the next bank and then the next one. And about 8 banks later, when I was on bank number 10, I realized like I was just totally misinformed. See, Lee, I didn't get the knowledge I needed to go off and do the thing. And I think a lot of real estate investors just go off and do something. But if you were a plumber, if you were an electrician, if you were HVAC tech, you'd have to get some knowledge before you actually got into business for yourself.
Yeah.
But we think because we've got a credit score and some money that we can just go do the thing. And I was guilty. So Lee, I think every investor's working on overcoming 3 different things: knowledge, deal flow, experience, and capital. And it's in that order: knowledge, deal flow, experience, and capital. And so I didn't have the knowledge, so I wasn't able to evaluate leads to find deals. I didn't have a deal, so I didn't have anybody with experience to partner with me. Because I didn't have an experienced partner, the bank wasn't going to give me the money, right? The capital. I think a lot of people are focused on the 20% or the 30% that they raise to get into the deal, but they don't realize that the smart money, and I do call the bank the smart money, because they mitigate just about all the risk out of the deal before they place their capital in it.
Yep. They've been doing it for a long time.
They want a seasoned and experienced operator in the game to make sure that their investment is safe. This isn't buying something on eBay and then selling it on Amazon because the markets are different. This is actually running a business. And so
that's the key.
That for me was a really, really, really sobering moment.
Was that kind of the red pill moment, or kind of take us into that a little bit, Jay? What are you teaching people when you talk about the red pill?
Yeah, so the red pill is our model for a centered life. And when somebody takes the red pill, they're able to reduce their stress, improve their health, grow their prosperity, and then do what I call make their significance.
What was this journey like for you? I'm guessing leaving the corporate space and you're kind of discovering this for yourself. Is that how you kind of built this out, this model of kind of taking these steps, or were you kind of going on that journey yourself?
Yeah, I was already on the journey before I left. I was a guy that had the 6,000 square foot house in an exotic car and didn't like my life, right? I didn't feel like I was making a difference.
Yeah.
And the red pill moment truly for me was at a funeral in 2012 when my buddy Hambone died. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, if this guy's dead, pound for pound, one of the best people I've ever met, what am I doing with my time? Am I truly earning my breath? Am I making a difference in the world? And the fact of the matter is I didn't feel like I deserved to still be here when he was gone, because I knew who he was.
Yeah.
So that shifted the paradigm for me. And I started trying to do all that I could to have real impact on people in the world.
That's good stuff, man. Cause I totally agree with you. You're not going to feel like you're leaving a legacy, like you're an apex performance, like you say, if you're not hitting on all these things, if you don't build it the right way. Like so many of us do. And I think a lot of times it just comes down to like, we're not self-reflective, that we don't think about that. And sometimes it does take a moment, have a close friend passing or something, like something really tough. I mean, as a Christ follower, I feel like God sometimes puts that in our life to say, hey man, we're all mortal, and you get one shot and some, who knows what can happen. So, not everybody has something that extreme, but I think a lot of times something will happen and we're like, man, am I really on the right track? I'd love to tie this to real estate a little bit, Jay. So with all this, I mean, you kind of set the story up and a story that's not uncommon. People think, hey, I've got a net worth or whatever it is. I've got some money in the bank. I've got like plenty of, in your case, plenty of business acumen, plenty of experience and success, great credit score. Hey, I could probably, with this, I could go buy a couple houses, but I want to do multifamily. But then you find out the bank's like, no. We like to lend to people for apartment buildings who already have apartment buildings. You don't have anything like, working for that Fortune 550 company. That doesn't say anything about how you're going to run an apartment building. So can you tell us a little bit about how you got over that, Jay? How'd you get the real estate stuff going?
Yeah, so I'm sitting on the stoop of my 1920s rehab. It was a $90,000 monster. We did everything, monster. Every freaking system.
I did one of those.
All of the cabinetry. I'll never do it again.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm sitting on the stoop. Guy pulls up in his white Dodge Ram. He hops out. He's like, hey, bud, let me check out your finishes. We're getting ready to do one down the street. Let's do it. So we walk in. He's like, oh, you tucked the wall out, the gooseneck sink in the island. Oh my goodness. What is this granite? Is that level 5 or 6? That's gorgeous. Walk upstairs, look through the bathroom. And he's like, man, this is some really nice tile. Good work here, man. So we're coming down the stairs and he's getting ready to walk out the front door. He stops in the threshold. He looks at me. He says, hey, Jerome, do you know anything about that 23-unit apartment building behind the Chimbo Mart? I said, yeah. I tried to buy that 4 or 5 months ago. The banks told me I need somebody with some experience. I don't know anybody with apartment experience. He said, well, I'm going to make an offer on that later today. I said, you're the guy I've been looking for. I am so glad you pulled up today. I said, please don't leave me out of the deal. Whatever you do, like I want to buy that building. I think we can do some things.
Yeah.
I said, well, Jerome, what are you going to bring to the table? I said, I don't know. We'll figure it out. Just don't leave me out the deal. So Friday comes and goes. The weekend comes and goes. And then Tuesday of the next week, I get a phone call. Hey, man. That deal that you and I talked about, I got the opportunity to be general contractor on it. Yeah. I told them one thing, man. I told them that I wasn't comfortable doing the deal unless you were involved.
Oh, wow.
And so the three of us started on the journey. We added in the broker. He rolled his commission in, and we added in a property manager as a partner. The 5 of us took down this 23-unit apartment building in Richmond, Virginia. And I was fortunate enough to be the asset manager on that deal. And from that, my name got in the paper. And from that, banks started reaching out. Hey, man,
there you go.
What else you got in the pipeline? What are you going to do when you finish construction? Have you figured out your refinance plan yet? You want to see what products we have to offer? I was like, when did a bank get products?
Yeah, I know.
Anyway, so, that news article that identified me as an asset manager helped me create some relationships, which allowed me to go do my own deal because now I closed the deal. And we've just been kind of off to the races ever since then, man.
Absolutely. What a great story, man. Yeah. I mean, the hardest deal to do is the first one. Getting started is so difficult, and it usually takes other people. And man, yeah, for you to, but you also, you were already kind of in the game. And that's the thing I noticed, Jay. Like I said, I can totally identify with you in doing that terrible first flip. I mean, I flipped a house. We put, I think 80 into it. So, you beat us there and put 90 into it, but horrible. Again, I would never do it, but like, it got me into real estate. I started meeting people. When I got done with that one, I just did a duplex next, and then we did a 16-unit, but kind of similar. It was like, okay, I'm in the game. I started meeting people. I started talking to people, started getting, and then, yeah, just even after a flip, even after a duplex, like, okay, you start talking about, okay, you've done something, and you talk to other people. Okay, you've done something. Cause there's so many people out there that say they want to do something, but they don't. So just getting in the game, showing that you've done, I mean, even in that guy, he meets you. I think one, he could tell your passion and your energy, but he saw that hey, this guy's doing something. He's not just sitting around saying he wants to get into real estate. Here he is. He took on this $90,000 turn and worked and got it done. So I mean, you got it rolling a little bit, and then probably you do have to meet some people that can kind of jump you up to that next level. But then you jumped in and made it happen too. But man, yeah, usually once you get that going, you really start creating some momentum, and it does get easier after that to build upon that.
It does once you're in the game. So, Lee, I tell the story that way because I think it's really, really, really important that people pick up on the fact that you need to be able to articulate the value that you can add to a partnership.
Great point. Yeah,
I was
absolutely.
asking the guy to do me a favor, right?
Yeah.
If we go back through knowledge, deal, flow, experience, and capital, he was writing his own contract. So the deal flow mechanism for the experienced person was taken off the table for me. I didn't have that as an option because he was writing the contract. If I would have truly had the knowledge where I could evaluate leads to find a deal, then in concept, I could have taken that to him for his experience so that we could get to the capital.
Yep.
But I wasn't doing that. And so being able to articulate the value that you can add to a deal, from my perspective, is one of the most important things that somebody can do. Because
Absolutely.
if you're doing anything else, you're asking people to do you a favor.
Yeah.
And we don't get in business to do favors.
Yeah, it's kind of that, you want a mutually beneficial relationship, like you talked about when you were talking about relationships, and that it wasn't, you weren't benefiting him. He was benefiting you in a big way, and man, good for him to see something in you to give you a chance. Just talking about, for you and some of your coaching students, Jay, I love to transition a little bit and talk about a little bit kind of insignificance, and that's just like with family, with family or if people have faith, and how real estate for you, or maybe more specifically, growing in financial literacy, because I think you talk a lot about that, and you're coaching people in that. How has that helped you, with your relationships with your family, with your life outside of real estate, and how do you coach people to kind of focus on that as well? Because to me, real estate is a vehicle, probably again to have better relationship with your family, to spend more time, that time freedom that so many people talk about, and then significance, leaving a legacy for most people, that their family has something to do with that. So how do you balance that, or how do you make sure that's a focus? What do you say to your coaching students about that kind of thing, Jay?
Yeah, I think the first place I'll go, I see you got that purple book up there on the shelf behind you.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, in that book, they talk about a cash flow quadrant, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I
And then
think a
there's
lot
another
of,
book called Cash Flow Quadrant
for
too. Yep.
sure,
Yep.
I think there are a lot of people who have been taught, and I think it's a miseducation of the general public, that they need to go from the employee quadrant to the investor quadrant.
Hmm.
And there's still two other quadrants on there: self-employed and business owner.
Yeah.
I'm a believer that you should go from the employee quadrant to a business owner quadrant and then to the investor quadrant. I
Okay. Sure.
think when you, and to put numbers in perspective, say you got $50,000 to invest, and your favorite apartment business syndicator says they'll give you an 8 pref. Well, that 50,000 is going to net you about 4 grand a year,
Right.
right? I don't know that's really going to move the needle. I don't know that's going to
Yeah.
get anybody free. And
Yeah.
so people are wondering, well, how does somebody quit their job in 3 to 5 years by doing multifamily investing? Well, because they're getting the carry. They're running a business. They're a real estate professional,
Yep.
and
They're
they're in the
active.
business owner quadrant because they're active,
Yep.
but they are still taking advantage of the ability to scale because they're hiring a third party property manager, or maybe their own site, depending on the size of the deal, to
Sure.
do the day to day so that they can go back and find more deals, invest more capital so that they can eventually create the cash flow necessary to free them from whatever is holding them into the space where they have to do the active work of earning income.
Yeah.
So what I tell people to do is, let's find a business that's got a subscription model tied to it, figure out how to increase the net operating income of that business. For most people, it's an apartment building, but everybody
Mhm.
isn't interested in that.
Sure.
When you increase that net operating income, there's an opportunity to either refi and take your money out, or sell it and collect all of the equity that's available to you. You can then take that exit and buy a bigger deal, create more net operating income, increase that net operating income, grab the equity again. And if you do that 3, 5 times, you'll be able to push enough cash in as an investor that
Absolutely.
you create a stream of income for yourself that you might not have been able to imagine. This
Absolutely.
isn't about the nest egg. This isn't about the 401k where, you get the money at 59 and a half or whenever you want to get to it. This is about building income that comes to you today from businesses that you run.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where the financial independence, the financial freedom comes from my perspective.
Yeah.
It truly is about figuring out how to make equity grabs so that eventually you can redeploy that equity into investments versus trying to take your active income and turn it into an investment.
That's going to grow your capital, which again can turn into, I think that's a point that can turn into your financial freedom. And now you have time freedom and you can go pursue that life of significance a little bit more. I mean, because you're kind of calling some of the shots. You can spend more time with your family. You can go, build a business that you want to do, go volunteer, like whatever you want to do. Some of these things, give back, coach people, do these things that allow you to have a life of freedom. And yeah, you set up really well when you can get into a property and you can be active and own more equity. And when you increase that NOI, which increases the value of the property, and then you capture that equity, I mean, you're really building a snowball that can really get rolling. I always like to ask at the end, what would you say is a key ingredient for someone to be successful at this, for someone to be successful, maybe jumping into multifamily investing?
Yeah, the fastest way to success is having a cohesive system to implement in your business.
Hmm.
I think a lot of people come in, they're going to do it hodgepodge. They're going
Okay.
to
Yeah.
listen to the guy from the north that has a podcast, the one in the mid Atlantic, the one out west, and then the guy that's in the Midwest. They're going to listen to all the podcasts
Yeah.
and they're going to smush these things together and come up with an answer on what is their deal, right? That's It's a fool's errand. It's one that I went on.
Yeah.
And what happens when you do all that is you get conflicting information. And couple that with the I'll call it the carousel of success stories where everybody makes money every single time with no mistakes,
Yeah.
and you end up discouraged and confused. And
Sure.
I just don't think that is truly how the business operates. And so you want to find somebody who can help you implement a cohesive system for buying your deals. And so
Sure.
what
Yeah.
our system is: find, fund, fix, and flip. It's 4 steps. And in those 4 steps, we break down how you
Love it.
can get your business off the ground. My business, there was a guy who got a coach that started around the same time that I did, and he just went over $1 billion in assets under management, right? I'm not at $1 billion. I didn't have any aspirations to go that big, but
Yeah.
it's just it shows the difference in what can be done when you have the appropriate guidance. It allows you to collapse time frames and eliminate
Yeah.
roadblocks.
And how about if I flip that question a little bit, Jay? What's a key ingredient then to while you're building this business, while you're let's say real estate business and maybe apartments? What's a key ingredient to also maintaining good relationships in your family? Maybe something you do to make sure you're still prioritizing your family or just keeping your priorities straight, whatever that is.
Yeah, I think clarity is the most important piece, right?
Okay.
This is who I am, this is what I do. I think when we're evolving, it's natural for there to be some anxiety from the people who are closest to us because they're seeing us change. And that change doesn't allow them to predict what we're going to do or how we're going to respond to certain things. And so communicating, hey, this is what I'm doing, and then doubling down or over communicating, here's a process that I'm taking, I think is the difference maker between people getting comfortable with your evolution.
Communication. I mean, that's been huge for me between my wife and I. Jay, where's the best place to send people? I want people to be able to find you and find your stuff if they
Mhm.
want to, have a coach and get some direction and kind of follow in your footsteps.
The one place to go to find out all the things is jeromemyers.co. You can get
Okay,
everything you need there.
we'll go there.
We
Yep.
we can let you run down the rabbit holes and see how deep it goes.
All right. Well, we'll send people there. I'll put that in the show notes. And Hey, to wrap things up, I always like to ask my guests, how might my listeners and I be praying for you in the coming weeks?
If I could ask for anything, I would ask for the gift of discernment to be able
Yeah.
to look at situations and to know without a shadow of a doubt that I'm making the right choice.
Yeah, that's a great prayer, man. That's it reminds me of Solomon prayed for wisdom and God granted it to him, and he's the wisest man in the world. And God said that was a great thing to ask for, and that's pretty much what you're asking for there, Jerome. So we'll pray alongside you for that, man. That's good stuff. This has been great. I think this is so important. I love again the material that you put out there, Jay, and how you're helping people understand financial literacy, kind of understand that this whole the red pill that you explain, and how people can build up to live a life of significance, to leave a legacy, to build a life that's fulfilling, and a healthy life. It's great stuff, man. I think real estate's one great way to do it. There's others, but you really get to the root of the issue, not just talking about nuts and bolts of real estate, but really, what makes a person in a good life. So we appreciate that, man. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Lee. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, take care.
Thank you for joining us for another great episode. I hope you'll take action on what you've learned today. If you enjoyed today's show, please consider leaving Lee a 5-star rating and review. And check him out on threefoldrei.com. Until next time, 1 Timothy 6:17.